Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Power Play Tuesday class on this lovely July 25th. Today, we are going to be bringing on a new speaker that we have never had on our platform, so we'll be giving him a warm welcome. And he's going to be going over some information that will be, maybe a good refresher for those that are investors already, but also a really good educational presentation for those that are new to kind of learn all about the different people that are involved in real estate transactions so that you can know exactly who you're dealing with. And then, of course, as a self-directed investor as well, how you can incorporate all those different people into your power team and tool belt. But before we get started, I'm going to go over a couple of brief announcements, and then we will get going. We have a couple of promotions that are going on right now that will be ending soon, and then we'll be starting up our new ones. But we have our rewards for deposits that we extended, and we will be allowing until the end of this month. You can get a reward for moving over money, but stay tuned because you can see our next promotion that we have coming up, which will be our referral promo. So stay tuned for that. But for those that would like to, experience our Gold Family plan that we have, we would love to talk to you about the service that we offer for the investors that are interested in just getting a little bit more with their account here at Quest. Our Gold Family experience provides a lot of more help. We have our concierge service that kind of allows you to have a dedicated account manager, specific dedicated account email links, but really just making that service really going above and beyond for those that want to get involved with that. We also have our Elite Multifamily Summit that is coming up in Dallas. This is going to be a huge one-day conference that we are focusing all on multifamily, whether that be current state of the market, financing options, asset management. We'll be talking about how to screen tenants, different technologies that people are using. So it's going to be a really great event, all about multifamily, and tickets are only $75. So you can scan this QR code, or you can also use my coupon code, which I will have us post in the comments below, and it'll get you an additional coupon discount as well. We will be returning to the Quest Expo will be returning next year. We actually have the date that's going to be an extra date. It'll be 3 days, so we'll have a day on the 27th as well. So we'll be sending out more information about that you can stay tuned for. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Of course, we have our disclaimer for anyone that is looking to do any investments with Quest. Of course, we always recommend that you do your own due diligence while we bring our guest speakers on. Of course, everything is for educational purposes only, so we do recommend seeking the counsel if you require any other investment structuring, tax, or legal advice. But if you want to get in contact with us, have questions about self-directed IRAs, feel free to scan this QR code and we can help you out, whether that be getting a consultation scheduled, or you can call us or visit our website. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up Jonathan, who is going to share his presentation about all the different people that are involved in a real estate transaction. And then at the very end, I'll hop back on and tie it all back in together. And if you guys have questions, we will address those. So Jonathan, I'm going to go ahead and bring you up. Okay. And we will get your slides up as well.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Sarah. Hello, Quest members and non and future members. We are going to be talking about who is involved in a real estate transaction. Why that's important is because if you're investing your money into a real estate transaction, You want to know that it's safe. You want to know where your money is. You want to know the status. You want to know who is involved, who may be influencing or affecting the transaction, because it's your money. And so I think the best way to start with this is, first understand that I have about 15 years in real estate, both as an agent and as an investor. I work with people who have IRAs all the time, private money all the time. And this information that I'm sharing is a compilation of issues and questions that have come up before with both new and experienced investors. So why don't we get to it? So this is kind of how it starts, isn't it? Your friend says, hey, Joe, I just made, $5,000 or 50 grand on this fantastic investment. You should do it too. And, that would depend on what kind of transaction this was. This could be either a transactional lending opportunity, which is short term, an hour, a day, a week, a month, typically. Or it could be a longer term investment, which is a year, 2 years, 5 years, where you're leaving your money in and it's accruing interest, or you may be also getting equity on the back end. So those are the two types of transactions. And what it is that you want to know on the right side here in orange is who gets your money? When do you send it? Where do you send it? When do you get it back? When do you get your money? Who the hell is involved? So these are questions that we usually get, and we're going to answer them all right now. Going to the next slide here. So a real estate transaction, obviously, it always begins with a buyer who's making an offer, and then the offer gets executed, and then everything starts to roll. So what's, I guess, important that I want to convey to you is that the executed agreement is a recipe. It is a map. It is a step-by-step. Here is what needs to happen. So when you're involved in a transaction, you should insist on seeing the details of the transaction. You may be required to sign an NDA or something like that, but you should look at the details of the transaction. It's your responsibility to do that. It's your money at risk if you're investing it. So you want to have a look at it and look at the terms, and they're going to follow like a recipe, everything along through that contract. This is something I want to emphasize to you all. If there's anything that you're going to remember about this presentation, it's this slide. Do not send your money to anyone except for the title office escrow account. That account is the only place your money goes. It's safe there, it's monitored there, and no one else gets your money. Okay, so let's just get that all straight and off the top. You should never have this question again. That is where your money gets delivered, and from there your money will come when it comes back. Okay, a couple things you want to do, I wrote here in the bottom, is that you want to verify that the license, the title license of the company is still valid and active. That's kind of an obvious and easy thing to check. And then that your money should be the last money that comes in. Everyone else's money, the deposits from the buyer, whatever from the seller, everyone else's money should be in escrow. You should be the last in the escrow. Okay, why is that? Because if anything happens and you put your money in early, you're stuck, potentially. Maybe not, but possibly. So make sure that you're the last one in as far as money goes. So the title office is just an air traffic controller for the transaction. We get this person, we get that person, we bring this person in, we got to have that, check this, check that. That's what they're doing the whole time. They are bringing it all together. They are the project management for the entire transaction that's going to happen. Okay? And let me see what I'm writing here. Yeah, so they will know, they will be able to know what's going on in the transaction and what's in the contract. There's typically an attorney involved. There may not be an attorney that owns the title company, but they have an attorney on board. You should be able to have access to them. The closer is the person at the title office who you are in contact with to find out what's going on and to get any kind of information you need. It's really the only person you really need to deal with on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis. Find out who they are, get their number, make sure you're in contact with them. Okay, we know who the buyers are. What's important about the buyers is that they may be using their own cash or not, or some, or very little of it. They may be getting cash from banks or private people. They are going to get money from somewhere, and that money could be from an IRA. It could be from anywhere. It's not important, specifically where it's from, just that buyers get cash from multiple places. So there are different kind of lenders, and here's Quest right here on the top, and there's a whole bunch of different places that people can get their money from. And every lender, including yourself, if you're able to, you're not always able to, you want to be in the first lien position. You want to be. You may not be able to be, but you want to strive to be. Okay? The appraiser and surveyor. So once you get into the transaction, lenders are going to want to know, whoever the lenders may be, they're going to want to know that the property is worth what they're lending on. Even if you're lending a small portion, don't you want to know that it's going to go through, because what they're paying is what is going to be validated by any other lender or any other financing source. The appraiser is actually a realtor, has a real estate license, but they have a special skill that enables them to officially determine the value of a property for example, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac customers that are affiliated with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans. And so the surveyor is the one that determines where the border is of your land. Why is that even important? Because you may have an investment you're investing in, and there's a dispute as to whether this piece of the property is actually part of the investment or not. So it's important to know that they are going to potentially participate in the transaction. They don't always participate, but they may be a participant, and they're going to determine the borders of the property and whether there's been any encroachments from neighbors or anyone else, or whether there's an easement passing through that you have to be aware of that you cannot build on. So if there's an intention to expand, the surveyor is going to know these things. Now, you won't necessarily be able to have access to the surveyor, and you won't have access to the appraiser. What you might have access to is the results of their work, and you could potentially ask for those results. The underwriter is behind the scenes on any large financial investment, as you know, and they are just the financial police. What is this worth? What's being lent? Is this being done in a ethical, legal way? They are the ones to determine whether a large loan or an insurance policy will or will not be able to go through. And we have them in real estate investment. I have an underwriter I work with that looks at my material and determines whether what I'm doing is within the boundaries of what is a good investment. So it's a very important individual to be able to talk to and run your numbers by. So you're probably at times going to run into dealing with a real estate agent. What you really need to know, and what's most important, is that their expertise is in what's going on in the real estate market, what a price might be worth, what a property might be worth, which neighborhoods might be growing, what's being built nearby, anything related to the value or the growth of an area, market-oriented things. They are not attorneys, obviously. They're not accountants, mostly. I mean, I assume some could be, but they're typically not. They're not economists, marketing experts. Most are not contractors. They're not pest control experts, and they're definitely not tax experts. So don't go to them for questions about those things. Go to the appropriate people. The realtor is there to facilitate things, not make things difficult, and they're there to give you an idea of what rent might be worth and what a property might be worth. The attorneys, I think it's obvious. What isn't obvious maybe about attorneys and their participation is that when we're creating notes in a transaction, or we're creating contracts or mortgages or any kind of official paperwork, they're the ones that have to do it because they're the only ones with the law, with the attorney license. So, having a realtor or an investor kind of whip together some things. I mean, you really want to have it looked at as from an attorney's standpoint, and and reviewed by an attorney. Associations are important because if the investment that you're making happens to be in a community like an apartment building or a planned urban development, like some kind of closed community with an association, those people can make things very difficult for us. They have rules. They can tell you when move-in is. They can tell you how much you can finance. They can tell you how old the resident has to be. They can tell you how many times you can rent per year, the minimum. I mean, there's so many things that when you're involved, when an association is involved in a transaction, there's many things you have to look out for. So this is kind of a way for me to remind you all that when you're investing and it goes into and the investment is in a homeowner's community, you might want to find out what the rules and regulations are and whether you feel comfortable with it. So, these are things what's important about zoning in my mind is that, if there's an idea of expanding the house or doing something with an investment you're lending in, you do want to make sure that it can be done and that, there's nothing that gets caught up into a lawsuit because someone's planning to do something that they can't do. Inspections are important because, we buy houses as in investments, when we're investors, we buy houses that are sometimes not in the greatest of shape. I mean, I have a big, beautiful house here and I just found termites in the second floor. It can happen to anyone. It can, there are things that can happen. And what you want to do is just make sure, maybe you want to have a look at the inspection report. Maybe you want to insist on an inspection. These are things you don't have to do, but you want to be reminded of. With regards to insurance, and I think this is a really important issue right now. In Florida, there's an insurance crisis. In a couple other states, there's an insurance crisis. If you're trying to sell a property or flipping and you're involved in the transaction, and that property has like a bad roof or maybe broken appliances, and it's in the $0 to $550,000 range, $550,000, it may not be able to get financed by a regular bank. You may be eliminating a huge part of the market because the FHA lenders will not lend against a bad roof necessarily. They're going to look at the status of the house, and it may prevent things from closing, prevent things from being sold. So you want to make sure that you're aware of the property and how insurance may be impacted by the condition of the property. Title policy, you all know if you own a house, title policies are usually part and parcel of a transaction. There are some real estate transactions where you can't get a policy until you do some secondary things to close on the property, and then you can get a title policy afterward. I'm just saying this because what's important to know is you may not get it in some situations. You definitely want it. Okay, so you want to get to the point where you can get it. Finally, the lender's policy, which is most important to you, that's you. You're going to get a lender's policy. When you lend money, you're going to get insurance and you're going to get a policy. You want to make sure that you get it. So, we don't just give money to random people and no policy. We give money to the title office and we get a policy. The loan servicer is an important aspect too. These are the people that collect the money. When you have your mortgage every month and you pay your mortgage, you're paying it to a servicing company. They're collecting the money and then they're distributing the money. They're involved and they're important because if the person that you sold the house to doesn't pay and misses a payment, it's the servicing company that's going to know what to do. So these are some minor things. I mean, moving and storage, just be careful. If you've got if you're investing in a property where things have to be moved out of the house, if there's valuables or whatever, some of these movers are, they're unscrupulous. And you have to be really careful. I used to work for a moving company, and that's how I knew. I did that when I was 22. So when I saw what happened there, I realized, how many things can go wrong when you're dealing with moving things out of a house anywhere. They can put your stuff in storage and charge you $100 a day. A municipal tax authority, they're going to reassess the property when it changes hands. So they're looking for the change of title so they can reassess the property and see if they can add assessable value to it. And then the utilities are just important because sometimes in the beginning of the ownership of a property, you may not have power. You might have to actually go to the physical place where the utility office is to get your service started. So, this is not something you'll directly be concerned with, but it's something that can happen, and it's something that you should be aware of. I wanted to bring attention to this. So handy persons and contractors. So I think you understand the difference, but just in general, a contractor is someone that can satisfy a permit and an inspection. A handy person, unless they have a license, typically cannot. So you're going to hire handy people for painting and fixing up and touching up and things and whatever, cleaning. And you're going to do things that are like plumbing and electric and structural with a contractor. Just make sure you know who you're using, and do not pay contractors upfront half deposits, 50% deposits. Florida, for example, is notorious for people running off with deposits. What you want to do is you want to buy the materials they need. You want to give them the materials, and you want them to do the work, a little piece of work, and you want to pay them for the little piece. So it's a bunch of little pieces of work. And you're hoping that the investor that you're investing your money in is managing the rehab or the construction in that fashion. They should be. I think this is the last one, I'm not sure, but the note buyer. So the note buyer is the interested investor. It could be you, can be you. And what they're going to do is they're going to buy a cash stream. So if we buy a property in real estate investment and we sell it to a buyer as a seller financed mortgage, the buyer of the property is going to begin to pay us money because we gave them the mortgage. We are the bank. That note, the promissory note that we established with the buyer to make those payments, has a value. And it maximizes the value when all due diligence was correctly done in the construction of that loan and that promise. And so a note buyer, which may be you wanting to buy the note to get the cash stream, is purchased typically at a discount, and you will be the receiver of the money that comes in from the mortgage being paid by the new buyer. So you guys, actually, you're the last slide. This is you. You're looking for ways to generate money tax-free, and you want to do something with your retirement account, and Quest lets you do that. And there are two types of investments. There's the short term we briefly talked about, and the long term. So the short term is like repairs, a deposit, some money to give to someone to leave a house, some small amounts of money, typically under $50,000. The long term stuff is when you're buying an apartment building and you're going to put $100,000 or $200,000 into a syndicated investment that's going to throw off money every month to you, or perhaps at the end of the transaction once it's resold. So that's a much more kind of set it and forget it type of investment. And that's it. You can go to my website to read about the participants here, and you can learn about private lending here. And these are some of the things that my company is involved with. Real Places is the real estate oriented arm. We have a service for seniors. We have a service for urgent, the requirement for urgent services like a flood or a leak or whatever. And this is where we get a lot of our foreclosures from. Save Our Homes Now. We help people out of foreclosure. There's no reason to go into it. We end up buying the house or keeping the people in the house. And these are the sources of where we get our investments from. So I hope that was kind of quick, but I hope that was helpful. I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it's always helpful whenever we can, bring out information just to kind of really outline all those different steps and help people out with that. And of course, like he mentioned, he's got some education as well. We also have education on our website too, if you want to learn more about private lending with your self-directed IRA. So lots of good education. But do we have any questions from the audience or from anyone that may be on the YouTube? And if we don't, that's okay, but I want to make sure that we get them all answered. Someone asked if it would be pre-recorded. We will have it on demand later, so you will get a copy of the presentation. And then it looks like we don't have any questions, so we might wrap it up early today. But with that being said, we always want to bring out fresh faces. Like I said, getting new people like Jonathan out to talk about all those different steps that you may see or people that you might be involved with when you're doing a real estate transaction. And of course, if you are looking to incorporate self-directed IRAs into your investing, portfolio, our investing process, investing techniques, we can help you out. So I will put our contact information in there as well one more time. But scan the QR code. We will send out a survey that actually Jonathan has helped with, just to kind of see how, get some feedback for the class today, and also see how we can, be more of a service for you guys and provide what you guys want. So with that being said, if we don't have any questions, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. We'll put the contact information in there one more time. But thank you all for joining us. And for those that maybe joined in late or anything, we will send you the replay afterwards. But thank you so much, and we will end our broadcast.
Thank you all. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.